Welcome to Multifamily Insights. I'm your host, John Casman, and I want to thank you for joining us for this great episode. Now, if this is your first time listening to the show, well, check it out. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss another episode. And if you're a returning listener, be sure to leave us a rating and review so we can hear what you like about the show, but also get any tips to make your work a little bit harder for your investing goals. We've got a good one today. We're going to be talking to Chad Keller. Chad Keller is a real estate investor, a Facebook and marketing funnel expert, and the co-founder of Motivated Leads, a digital marketing agency that helps real estate investors expand their portfolios quickly by generating quality, motivated seller leads. Let's welcome to the show, Chad Keller.
How's it going, everyone? Appreciate you having me today.
Chad, thank you for being a guest today. I went over your bio at a high level. Take a minute or two and give us a little bit more context.
Primarily, I've been an entrepreneur kind of my whole life, always created startups. Got into the startup world about 10 years ago, built and sold one, and then got into lead generation, actually trying to find off-market properties for myself to invest in, and my partner, Brian, as well. But my startups that were sold were all sold on the back of digital marketing, meaning that we ran paid ads from Facebook, Google, all of that. To drive the growth of those. So a lot of experience there. I still do performance marketing for some Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies like Dish Network, Hertz, all of that. Primary focus now is finding off-market deals for investors and also ourselves, as always. So leads are one thing, deals are another, but turning those leads into deals is what we focus on.
I love it. And you just said a great thing, right? Because a lot of times people, when they think about leads, they, there's a gap between just going out there and buying a list, right, from List Source or some of the companies that may have a big database of potential prospects and actually converting them and finding a deal, right? So they have the same letters, leads and deals, but you got to rearrange those letters if you really want to make them work. Talk to us a little bit more about that process, because one of the things that you do is you focus on building lead generations and building lists that identify motivated sellers. So can you just explain a little bit more about what that means and maybe what's a little bit different in your approach versus what other people may be doing when they go out to look for an off-market deal?
Yeah, a lot of people, when they hear leads, they're like list of leads or like these leads that we're going to be cold calling, reaching out to. Me and Brian being very busy as we are, we try to save time as much as possible. So we want inbound leads. Most companies work with want inbound leads, people contacting us. We don't have to contact them. So they're very warm, very hot leads. We focus, say for ourselves and most of our client base, finding them single family homes. We have a lot of guys too that do multifamily homes as well. But speaking to the motivated seller, where we like to say people that are in distressed situations. And that typically means, like here in Pittsburgh, we have a lot of hoarders. We have a lot of people that are behind on the mortgage. They go through divorce or a death happened in the family and the house was left to them. So we really speak directly to them. And the main thing, though, when thinking about lead gen is that a lot of marketers might tell you, like, hey, don't put a lot of friction in between the ad itself. So say you see an ad on Facebook and they click it and they come to a website, ask name, email, phone number, and count that as a lead. To us, that's not a lead. Like that is, some people don't even know what they're filling out or what they're getting into. You want to pre-vet these leads, have them go through a series of questions, maybe 12, 15 questions. You're going to pay a lot more per lead, but they're going to answer the phone when you call them. They're going to know why you're calling them. They're going to be motivated. So that's the main thing that we focus on, is the quality of that lead.
Great insight right there. You just talked about qualifying that lead first and foremost. And I think that's an interesting approach because, maybe something that feels counterintuitive. But for you, you said, hey, listen, you're going to get less people to fill out the form, but the people who do fill it out are actually motivated. And that's ultimately what you're trying to do, is you're trying to get a list of folks who are motivated, who are serious, who are ready to have that conversation, as opposed to a huge list but they're all cold leads, right? They're folks who may or may not have any interest in what you have to offer, and sometimes don't even know why you're calling, or may have a lot of friction there. You also mentioned that for you, you start by trying to have your phone ringing and really driving people to reach out to you, as opposed to you taking that cold calling approach and reaching out to them. Um, when we think about the top, or that process, let's just step way back, right? So that process, walk us through it, right? How does a potential prospect hear from you? How do you get in touch with them? Just walk us through kind of high level what that process looks like for you to go from coming across the lead to ultimately getting into a conversation with them.
Yeah. So on our side, personally, we use digital ad platforms, meaning Google and Facebook primarily. So we'll have an ad that goes out there, say in your Facebook newsfeed, that will say, "Sell your house as is, no repairs needed," or "Get a quick cash offer for your home. Contact us." They click a button, they come to a website, and on that website, we have on the first half of the form, we ask name, email, phone number. They hit submit, then they go to step two. That form asks them, why are they looking to sell? How quick are you looking to sell? How much do you owe on the property? How long have you owned the property? Is it listed with a realtor? Square foot of the property? What's your ultimate goal with the property? Then they submit that form. When they submit that form, we do have an automatic text message that goes out to them, but it also takes them to another page that has our calendar on it for them to book a call. So we want them, our ultimate goal is actually to get them to book a call on our calendar to show their level of motivation. So we'll still, the people that just come through step one, name, email, phone number, they're getting more automation. So they might get text message, like a voicemail mail drop, a series of email drips. But when they come through step two, we'll still call that lead because they showed that intent to take that time to fill out step two. But we know if they booked a calendar, they're ready to sell. Like we take it to the point here in Pittsburgh where book a calendar appointment for us to come view your property. We have all the information. If we know it's not listed on the MLS, they're in a situation because they're usually put my ultimate goal. They'll put their situation there. And then we know that, hey, we're going into this property to go look at it. If it makes sense, we're making a deal.
I love it, man. You just gave something really, really insightful. And I don't know if everyone caught it. So I'm going to play it back. And this is true insights right from a marketing genius. The first step, and as we set this up, kind of going into it, I was kind of under the impression that you had to fill out this long form. And if you didn't fill it out, you know what, you just lost that lead. But what you're saying is you actually have multiple steps. So the first step is super easy: name, email address, right? And do you say address in there too, or no address?
Actually, on the first step, let me think back on it. We actually go phone number, address, email. We don't even care about the name. So as long as we have the information to contact them and the address to look up to see if it's a good property, then the step two will ask their name.
There you go. Phone number, address, email. The three most simple, basic things you need, not even asking the name. Just give me the address of the property, the phone number, and an email address. And then they submit, and then they get into the pre-qualification question. So for you, even if they fall off at that point, you still have some information to follow up and reach out. And maybe they are interested, and maybe they didn't know the answers to the questions at that time and they come back around, or whatever the case may be, but you have their information there. And then what you said is that for the folks who complete step two, you know that they're really serious if they've taken the time to complete the second step. And for those who book a meeting, that step three, those are the hot leads that right now they are serious about selling their property, and you need to jump on those leads. And I think it's a great way to think about your business and your marketing approach, where you have some folks who are maybe, cold to warm, some folks who are, warm to hot, and then those that are red hot that you want to jump on, who are really looking for your product or services right now. And what you've done is you've allowed them to self-select where they're at in that stage. And to your point, you don't have to sit there and cold call all these individuals, because they're letting you know where they're at in that process by completing these forms and documents. How long did it take you or to figure out what the steps and the processes needed to be in order to identify who was going to be a hot lead, who was ready to sell right away, versus somebody who was interested, but maybe not ready today, or maybe not ready right at this moment?
Oh, so I've been, like I said, I've been doing lead generation for probably like 6 to 7 years, like from a straight lead generation standpoint. I probably spent like I don't even know, like maybe $100 million on advertising to figure out like, hey, what really works.
How
Um,
much did you say you spent?
Probably about $100 million on Facebook over the last five
Wow.
years. So I have opportunity to work with huge companies where, hate to say it, but like gamble their ad spend to learn stuff. So you can take what you learn there and take it down to a local level, like off market deals in a certain 25-mile radius around the city. But you did all that testing at a very high level to have enough data to back it to know that, like, hey, these people that book appointments are the ones that are the easiest to close. These people that fill out forms, like, hey, we need to have people reaching out to them as soon as that form comes in. Because even if they fill out a step two, a lot of people don't realize that, like, oh, okay, I'll call that lead. They filled out a step two, they gave me the information. Let me review it and let me call them when I get a chance. Like, no, like how the logarithms work and the AI works within Facebook and Google, for instance. If you click this ad on Facebook and they fill out a form on your website, Facebook knows they clicked that ad and they know what the messaging was in that ad. So, and they saw that they submitted a form. So Facebook's automatically going to start shooting them ads just like that ad that they just saw, which means all of your competitors are then going to get right in front of them. So it's speed to close at that point. So if you can get them to book an appointment, you already have that commitment where they don't need to go reach out to a competitor. But also, if you call them as soon as they come in, then and build that relationship as quick as possible, then you can stop them from reaching out to competitors as well. So that speed to close is really important as well there.
That's a great insight because it's one that you might miss. But to your point, lead generation is one process, right? Just one part of getting people to submit information to you. But there is a speed component. And I wasn't even thinking about Facebook's algorithm because if they're looking at it and say, oh, this person liked this ad about, whatever, selling their home, let's give them more ads about selling their home. So if you're not quick and reaching out immediately, they may get another ad from someone else who is ready to reach out and follow up on that. So definitely makes sense to move very quickly to reach out to these hot leads. What's one thing that people might be surprised about when it comes to this process? And I don't know if you want to call it a funnel, but when you talk about reaching out to prospects, what's something that maybe you thought coming into it and then you realize, wow, I was way wrong, it actually doesn't work like that at all? This is actually a better way of doing it.
I have to really think about around that. When we came into the real estate niche, just doing like we started marketing for ourselves about 5 years ago, but like actually taking on clients within this niche, we kind of proved it. So that's something that we learned is the speed itself, and then we also learned that when a lot of these in our area specifically, we have a lot of hoarders, and hoarders are introverted people naturally who might not like to get on a phone, like to get on the phone. So we have automatic text messages go out when they fill out the form that says, "Hey, I just saw that you filled out a form. Would love to hop on a call and talk," or just text is fine as well. And a lot of people will actually text us back rather than hop on a call. And that's just because, again, when we go see the property, they're there and maybe their son's with them or their significant others with them. And they're just a very introverted person that doesn't like to hop on a phone call. So implementing that text message has increased our conversion rate just because texting to set up that appointment or texting to learn more about the property. They prefer to communicate that way. So that was an interesting insight.
Yeah, I think that is a really good insight too, because if you think about it, even though they're interested in selling, they may not be interested in being sold, right? And feel like, oh, I don't want to hop on the phone and then this person is going to start that process. So I could see a little bit of trepidation that some people may have in that scenario, but at least going through text first gives them a chance to warm up, get some of the questions out of the way and learn a little bit more about the process and all those things. So really nice insight there. Let's talk more about funnels and Facebook ads and kind of what you're seeing in that space, because lead generation is big, not just for real estate, but all sorts of industries. Facebook has, they're making millions and I mean billions of dollars through their ad platform right now. And it's something that can be very lucrative, but I know a lot of people just don't get it, don't know how to approach it, what to look for. This is something that your firm specializes in. Walk us through it at a high level. Give us the one-on-one on how to use Facebook ads.
Yeah, so ads are one component of it, and you got to think about it from a perspective of Facebook is a consumer first platform. So Facebook's not going to show something to somebody that doesn't relate with them. What I mean by that is that if you put an ad out there that a lot of people will try like clickbait or scammy ads, like, oh, get a fair cash, see what your house is worth, and click on this ad. And then we'll have people that come to us from other agencies and they're running ads that for see what my house is worth. And then they're complaining about the lead quality from Facebook. It's like, that's because you're tricking the consumer of what they're clicking on. And then Facebook realizes that all these people that might have their houses listed to see if it's listed at a fair price or considering listing their house are clicking and filling out these forms. They're not truly motivated sellers. So you got to be very direct in the messaging that you use on these platforms because Facebook picks up on who clicks on these. And if you're trying to clickbait people to just get clicks and cheap leads to the door, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get people that don't answer the phone or aren't interested in your product. And Facebook's going to start to learn that way, and their AI is going to pick up on that. And then your ads and your audiences are all just going to be skewed. So you want to be very, very direct in your ads when you send them out to people. From a funnel perspective too, it depends what your goals are and how your operation works, just from handling these leads and everything that they come in. If you are a one-man show, two-man show, whatever it may be, you need to, one, make sure that you're able to contact these leads as soon as they come in. If you're not, you need to be able to have automations in place to contact them. Like me and Brian are very busy running the agency, and investing is our passive thing, but we still did about 8 deals the last 2 months. And that is just because the automation helps save us time. So you need to look into automatic text messages, emails. And it's not even just that initial text message or that initial email. It's, hey, if they didn't answer this text message in 24 hours, we're sending another one 24 hours later, and then another one 48 hours later. Same thing from email. So we'll constantly drip people. When I say drip, like send emails consistently for 3 months. And we even taken leads that will come back 3 months later. They weren't ready to sell at that time, but our drip got them and they were ready to sell. So making sure that you have the foundation set or like something mapped out of how you're going to handle these leads as they come in is super important.
No, great tips there. For the clients that you're able to help with kind of the marketing company you have, walk us through like who's an ideal client, how do they benefit, and what services do you offer?
So yeah, an ideal client for us is somebody that has been investing for a year, 2 years minimum, is doing about 2 deals a month, and has handled inbound leads and can sell very well. So what we do for them, we have a lot of guys that come to us for even multifamily too, where they come to us and they don't have a digital presence, or they might have tried Facebook in the past or Google and it's never worked for them. So if they don't have a digital presence, we'll literally make them a website, make them a logo, make them the ad accounts, make them all of the ads, everything for them, push it out underneath their brand. They own it all. We're very transparent in what we do. And then every 30 days, hop on those review calls and go over everything, see where everything's at. So if you do come to us with a brand or tried it in the past, we'll use all of your assets that you have and kind of put our system in place for you. So we can kind of handle it all from a Facebook, Google, SEO standpoint, making that brand, making that ad account, getting you familiar, letting you know how to work these leads, and also setting you up. We have a CRM system that we use that will duplicate for people if they want to use it. But a lot of people come to us with CRMs themselves. But yeah, ideally somebody that's doing about 2 deals a month. And we aren't their only lead gen source. That's another important thing. Like even us, like we still do mailers, we still do text, we do other things like for ourselves. Like, yeah, because there's only so much digital potential within one market. So you got to think about that. You can't rely on one source. We still we'll pay $100 a lead. Some months, the next month we might pay $300 a lead, or the next month we might pay $50 a lead. It fluctuates with the market. So that's just something to keep in mind too as well. So yeah, investor has experience working leads, 2 deals minimum a month, and just gets that like, hey, this takes time. It takes time to close a deal. It takes time to understand how to work these leads from a digital aspect and all of that.
Yeah, I think the biggest frustration I always hear from people when they're launching a direct to owner campaign is just the time it takes, whether it's direct mail or digital or whatever. The timing is never as fast as I think people expect or hope it to be. What do you typically see from the time you start working with clients to the time they start getting those first couple of deals?
Yeah, so we tell everyone give it 3 months. That's just because when you sign up, you figure your ad accounts, pixels, like all of your data is brand new. We have no data to go off of. You launch with 6 to 7 different ad images, videos within your area. As you spend on these platforms, you start to see like, okay, a lot of people are clicking this ad, but they're not turning into a lead. But people are clicking this ad and actually turning into a lead. So let's kill the budget to these two ads and push it to this ad. And as we get that data back, we can make those optimizations. And you need enough of that data back to make those optimizations. So if you give this 2 weeks, it's not like we have a magic button and leads are just coming through. It's, hey, as we're getting data back, we're reading it and we're making adjustments to the ads. And then once you let them optimize, you start to see that consistency. About like week like 4, 5, 6, you'll start to see that consistency of leads coming in. About 1 in 6, 1 in 7 leads should turn into a deal if they're fully vetted properly. And then from there, you kind of have an ROI on your campaign at the end of 2 months, sometimes going into month 3. And then okay, does this make sense for me? Does this not make sense for me?
Yeah, and I know a lot of the numbers you gave are mostly tied to single family investing, but this does work for multifamily. And quite frankly, this lead gen approach probably works for other industries that are not tied to real estate as well. So when you think about it at a high level, when you think about lead generation, I know there's certainly mistakes you see people making. What's the biggest mistake you see people making when they're trying to implement a lead generation approach?
The biggest mistake is the clickbait, not being direct, not putting enough friction in between them becoming a lead, where it's just like, hey, we'll do whatever to get their name, email, phone number. Like Facebook offers a product that's called Facebook Lead Forms, where they click the ad and the lead form auto populates with all the information that Facebook has on that person. They just hit submit, and everyone's like, oh, this is great. I'm getting leads super cheap. But these people aren't even reading what the ads are, and that information that is auto populating is their email that they signed up with Facebook with. Like, I don't even know. I don't even know if I know the logins of my email I signed up with Facebook with, or like a phone number from 2 years ago, whatever it may be, and you're not getting a hold of these people. So you should never be scared to pay more for a lead. It's always worth paying more and saving time, in my opinion, unless you have a team of cold callers or VAs that can just pound the phones all day. Okay, if that's the approach you want to take it. But a very big component of quality over quantity.
Yeah, great insights there. I mean, the takeaway for me is that first and foremost, don't be afraid to qualify your leads. The whole point is to find the people who are most likely to do business with you. Make it easy on yourself by actually letting them self-qualify, by telling you, what their time frame is, where they think the value is, just those key questions to help you determine motivation and intent. And if you can do that, that's going to make the process a little bit easier for you. With that said, make it easy for them to sign up initially. So even if they're not ready to give you all of that information just yet, at least get their contact information so that you can start to engage in an ongoing conversation and then hopefully get them to the point where they are ready to engage in the deeper conversations there. The other piece that stands out for me is that, it just takes time. You spent over $100 million in advertising over the last 5 years working with different brands. And, there's no magic sword or something here to say, hey, if you put these three words together in your ad, it's absolutely going to convert and get you a deal every single time. There's certainly some best practices, but it's going to take time. What works for you may not work for someone else, depending on the specific kind of deal you're trying to do or the market that you're in. So you do need to take a little bit of time to experiment, take a few weeks to figure out what's working better than others, and then redeploy your capital accordingly. But just having some patience and being willing to test some things is really important there. As you also think about how we're moving more and more into the digital space, and obviously the last couple of years have pushed people there even more than they may have been comfortable going. Where do you see the opportunities moving forward? There's been a lot of talk about one, the elimination of cookies, and then two, you're the first person I'm going to ask this question. But the metaverse, and a lot of what's going to be happening moving forward. Just give me your thoughts on that.
So from first the cookie standpoint, if you have the right funnel, the right ads in place, the cookies shouldn't affect you very much, because if you speak directly to them, tell them what you offer, you should get them on the first click, or get enough data on them on the first click to be able to email, text message, do whatever you want with them from a lead generation standpoint. I've seen the cookie impact a lot from an e-commerce standpoint, but from a lead generation standpoint, if that is impacting your business, then you might need to take a step back into, okay, what information can I get from them so that I can retarget them? Because that's where the biggest impact is within your retargeting audiences. You can still get that first click from them. Now the metaverse, this is a super interesting topic. I'm a big crypto guy. I'm deep into even NFTs and everything itself. I honestly, I envision it. I'm a firm believer of, like, if you see what like Facebook and them are doing with like Oculus, like, you will walk into a store with goggles on. Like, you'll have put your goggles on, you'll walk into a store, you'll be walking through a mall with billboards there. There'll be digital billboards. You'll be trying on clothes, whatever it may be. So like, preparing for that and just thinking from like that aspect of e-commerce is the easiest way to think about it from like a lead generation standpoint. Like, there will be billboards, there'll be everything within this, or product samples of like, when you look at this, like when you put on the glasses and the product samples of things. But I always take it from an e-commerce standpoint of trying on clothes. Like, you'll be able to scan yourself, put on these goggles, go in and try these on. It sounds insane, and like, I try to say this to like my parents and stuff, and they look at me like I'm nuts. But I do think we are moving that way. If you look at like how introverted, like even like kids, and like, yeah, I have kids myself, but like how addicted they are to electronics. And I hate to say it, but like, I want them to know electronics, but at the same time, they're super addicted. That's where that generation is going. And there's a lot of people that can hide behind a computer and be who they always wanted to be. In the metaverse, you can be whoever you want to be. And it's giving opportunities people to let them do that. So I don't know if it's going to affect like my generation so much, but I think the younger generation it's really going to affect. But from an ad standpoint, it's going to go back to more traditional advertising, I think, because like, you're going to be living in a world of like that you're going into. You know what I mean? So like, it's going to go back to like the billboards, the payment signs, whatever it may be. That's what I think, because it's going to be more entering that, walking through that, and experiencing that. So it's going to be more like experience marketing than it's going to be actual like click and data grabs and all that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty interesting as you watch it. And the way I think about it, because I have to simplify this to an extent. When we think about Meta, it's kind of the merging of the real and the digital, right, or the virtual. And a good example is like in the real estate space might be a virtual tour. If you can do a virtual tour for an apartment and truly give people an experience of what it looks like or what it feels like to live in this apartment, and maybe have, your furniture there and other things like that. Those are experiences that can help somebody, especially if they're moving from out of state to an apartment complex and they can't really, get out there to take a look at the apartment or whatever. So there's different things that I think as investors we can do to prepare and understand just where this melding actually lies, because it doesn't have to be deep into the crypto space for this to still work for us. It sometimes is more about just understanding the experience and how do you create a digital experience that helps your company, your brand, or your services get into the hands of the people who are looking for them. So obviously a lot of new things there. I think I really just brought it up so I could throw out Meta to a tech guy in the Facebook world and see how he was going to respond. But either way, some great insights there from you, Chad.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's gonna go more traditional, just from like, because you just see like them selling land and everything now. So it's it's so interesting to me. But I'm curious to see where it goes.
The first person who makes $1 million selling virtual land is going to be somebody we got to talk to. So
Someone just sold a plot of land for like 750,000, I think.
virtual land.
Yeah, virtual land. That's
Oh man. All right. I wonder if I could pitch that to my investors. We'll see. So you talked about how we are finding lead generation, You're finding ways to qualify these leads first and foremost. And what you're doing that is a little bit different is you're making sure that you set up kind of the back end, right? You're creating kind of that online brand. You've got your drip campaigns going, and you are following up these leads immediately. And I think that's the piece that a lot of folks miss is being able to get that qualified lead up front, but then actually following up with them immediately so that you can take advantage of that connection and put your hard-earned dollars to work. That's the whole reason you did it, was to try to unearth some potential motivated sellers. You got to be ready to talk to them when it's time. Give me a failure or an apparent failure that set you up for later success.
I went bankrupt at the age of 22 and couldn't get a corporate job. So I think it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Okay,
So
good one.
you basically can't never get down on yourself. I think everything happens for a reason.
We talked a lot about technology and things like that. Give me a digital or mobile resource you recommend for your business.
Loom, LOOM.com. So if you're running a team or whoever it may be, recording videos is key.
What's a book you've recommended or gifted the most in the last year?
How to Win Friends and Influence People. That book really taught me how to sell and just taught me how to work people.
Dale Carnegie's classic. All right. Give me a daily habit that helps you stay focused on your goals.
I would say focus. It's working out. It's very cliche, but like I know if I work out early in the morning, probably 60-70% of America doesn't do that. So it makes me feel good that like, hey, I'm one step ahead.
All right. Give me your number one insight for lead generation.
Focus on quality, not quantity.
Love it. All right. You mentioned that you're in Pittsburgh. Give me the best place to grab a bite to eat.
Oh, that's a tough one. I'm a big food guy too. So you see me with a hard one. This Dia Noyes in the Strip. It's an Italian restaurant. It's scratch made everything. So if you're ever in Pittsburgh, go to the Strip. Just ask people where the Strip is, and that's where all the food places are. And that's Old Town Pittsburgh. So it's a fun place to visit.
All right. Well, make sure you check that out. Listen, Chad, you gave us a lot of great insights. I appreciate you being a guest on the show today and just, really helping us to keep our frame of reference in there about just what it takes to be a successful marketer in all businesses. Your real estate business, whether you're doing multifamily, single family, it's still a business, and the business needs to have a strong marketing, and lead generation is such a key component of it. We wanted to make sure we talk to Chad today to help understand how to do lead generation, and particularly with digital marketing and focusing on those qualified leads. So Chad, great insights throughout the entire episode. I want to thank you again for coming on the show with us today. We look forward to staying in touch and talking to you again soon.
Definitely, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.